Well, we're finally here. This is my final video on Season 1 of Avatar. Let's do this. In episode 17 of Avatar, Aang hears a rumor that makes it sound like some airbenders might be living in the Northern Air Temple. However, when he goes to the temple, he discovers that different people have taken over and that much of it has been remodeled or destroyed in order to suit their way of life. The central focus in this episode is on the temporality of the past. Sure, we might want to hold on to our ways of living or the spaces we inhabit, but as new generations and people, along with new technologies, come into being, old spaces are bound to change. While many of these changes might seem good from an outside perspective, for people who knew it its old way, the changes can be highly problematic and distressing. Of course, this is the case with Aang in this episode. Aang's reaction to these changes, and to the people who inhabit the Northern Air Temple now, is what I see as the most important part of this episode. He starts off disgruntled and upset by the changes, then grows enraged, then sees at least some of these people as worthy of experiencing the Air Temple, and eventually concludes that what's happened here is actually a good thing. Towards the start of these steps, his reaction of negativity is embedded in his tradition and memories, two powerful aspects of his character that have been the focus of previous episodes in this series. He misses the world as it was and actively seeks any opportunity to get back to those times, to experience the world as it was. Thus, he sees changes of utility for new inhabitants of these spaces, such as building a bath or various technological systems that disrupt the old, as negative. However, Tao, who is a wheelchair-bound boy who uses the airflow around the temple to fly, alters Aang's perspective on this issue. After all, for Tao, living here isn't simply a matter of convenience or laziness. It's quite possibly one of the only places in the world where he can break free from the constraints of his disability and experience movement. Without the space, the enjoyment and fulfillment Tao gains from this activity would be gone, and Aang eventually recognizes how important this is to him. He calls this similar appreciation for the space spirit, and sees Tao as being like an airbender. As usual though, Avatar has a more complex way of representing this issue than one might expect. After all, because this space provides Tao with something unique that is important to him, Tao's father provides the Fire Nation with weapons, under the agreement that the Fire Nation won't destroy this place so long as Tao's father complies. To amplify the perverse nature of protecting an old airbender space by giving the Fire Nation more tools for destruction, the last space that Aang sees as being untouched by the outside is the most disturbingly altered. I mean, it's here, in this chamber that seems to be locked in such a way that only an airbender could open it, that Tao's father keeps the weapons he's selling to the Fire Nation. In this way, the show makes it clear just how far people are willing to go to protect spaces that are important to them, how far people will go to protect what they see as their home. In the end, change is figured as something positive. As Aang says, he's glad that these people live here now, as regardless of if they were born here or not, they have made this place their home. He recognizes that it's more important that people have a place to call home than it is for him to be able to experience his past culture. Of course, we might question some of the more specific elements of this episode. For example, is it really okay for these people to destroy the stories of Aang's people, past tales that people may learn important lessons from? Some may find these sorts of questions more pressing or concerning than others, as the erasure of past people's histories is a very real problem. Regardless of that though, and some ambiguity in how this is handled, I really enjoy this episode. The next episode also focuses on the way that concepts of tradition can affect people. In this case, however, the central character is Katara. Here, after finally reaching the Northern Water Tribe, Katara finds that she isn't allowed to learn from a water-bending master, as this tribe doesn't teach women how to fight. Unlike the concepts of tradition and culture explored in the last episode, this concept is figured as being inherently negative. After all, everyone involved in this episode has been negatively affected by this tradition in the past, or will be affected negatively if people continue to adhere to it. First off, Katara is negatively affected, as she wants to learn to fight and her ability to realize her own potential is restricted by outside forces. Second, this poses a problem for the Water Tribe at large, as Katara is a great fighter with a ton of potential, meaning that she's possibly invaluable in this fight against the Fire Nation. Third, even the Master himself, the one who is particularly strict about wanting to maintain this tradition, has experienced the negative repercussions of this tradition, as it's revealed that Katara's grandmother was supposed to marry this guy, but she left. One potential reason for her to leave, and the reason which is focused on here, is that she didn't want to be held down by the restrictive traditions of the Northern Water Tribe. I really like this message. I mean, tradition's all fine and dandy, but once it starts hampering individual people's ability to reach their full potential, or simply just stopping them from doing what they want to do for no reason other than the tradition itself, I don't think that's a good thing. In fact, I think it's exceptionally harmful both to society at large and to individuals. Since it can be somewhat difficult to navigate the difference between respecting cultures and recognizing negative aspects of particular cultures, I appreciate Avatar's take on this idea, and that it takes the time to focus a bit on this. Plus, there's the fact that it gives us a bit of a deeper understanding of Katara's character. We see how important it is for her to fight, how driven she is, how passionate she is about this. Of course, this isn't all there is to discuss about this episode. However, the other elements of this episode largely function as part of the larger plot that will be carried out in the next 2 episodes. Mainly, there is some emphasis placed on the potential for a relationship between Sokka and Yue. Which brings me to the unfortunate problems that become apparent in these last 3 episodes of Season 1. Problems which do not make these final episodes bad, but rather simply disappointing. See, these last 3 episodes involve elements of the prior largely episodic episodes in this first season coming together, and it serves as the climax of Season 1 as you might expect. Some of these work out fairly well, such as Zhao learning that Zuko is the Blue Spirit and sending these pirates from episode 9 to kill Zuko. I like these inclusions here because we see the consequences of Zuko's earlier actions. This is a plot point that, though not obviously, has been built up to. Another element that is similar to this is the fact that the black and white spirit from episode 7 helps Aang out when he's in the spirit realm. Meanwhile, if I were to simply describe what happens in these episodes, it would sound like a pretty satisfying conclusion to other plots in this season. For example, we see Zhao's final conflict with Aang and Zuko. However, I think that this plot is largely mishandled. Some really cool ideas come up here. In particular, I love this idea that Zhao sees it as his destiny to kill the Moon Spirit and, in doing so, to destroy the Northern Water Tribe. There's a lot of potential to explore the differences between his conception of destiny as an egomaniacal Fire Nation warrior and Aang's conception of destiny as the Avatar. However, this plot point is brought up far too late for it to be explored in a satisfying way, and I see no reason why this idea couldn't have been brought up sooner. If we had learned about this Moon Spirit and Zhao's views of his destiny sooner, that could have injected his and Aang's encounters with a lot more drama and tension. Additionally, this would have made it clear that Zhao not only seeks to bring political imbalance to the world, but also imbalance to the very way the world naturally functions, which would make him even more of an important enemy for Aang to defeat. That's not to say that the way it's handled here is abysmal or anything nearly that extreme, just that it had potential to be so much more. These episodes leave me feeling that Zhao could have been a more fleshed out character, that he could have been a much better villain, but instead he seems like a side note, like a villain that's serviceable but nowhere near the levels of someone like Azula, even though there was potential for that. All the pieces were here to make him into that, just not the time and not the proper ordering of events. I feel similarly about Sokka's relationship with Yue, as well as her engagement with Han. Sure, it's yet another way that the negative aspects of tradition are explored. However, if more time had been spent on this, if Sokka's and Yue's relationship had been given more room to breathe, then I think that her sacrifice would have been a much more powerful moment. Part of this also comes from the fact that, again, plot points are established so closely to their relevance. As it stands, it feels like this plot point is only brought up so that an unsolvable issue can immediately be solved. In other words, the plot points feel like plot points. I was aware that something was being brought up just so that it could be handled very quickly. Soon. And this is not something I only felt upon rewatching. If they had met sooner, perhaps this would have resulted in more time for Sokka and Han's relationship to evolve into a genuine rivalry, instead of just kind of coming to a freeze when Han and Sokka get quickly separated after meeting. Again, that's not to say that these episodes are terrible. There's just more here to cover than can be covered in approximately 3 episodes, if we consider the plot as beginning once Aang and the gang reach the Northern Water Tribe. I think it would have been a better decision to have the characters reach the Northern Water Tribe a couple episodes sooner. This way, some more plot points could have had a more natural integration into the plot and been introduced a bit earlier, such as Sokka and Yue's relationship, as well as her connection with the moon. As far as positive things to say about these episodes, while I like the section with Aang in the spirit world and his confrontation with Ko, it's very intense, well shot, and exciting without having any action to speak of. I also like how Iroh and Zuko's relationship are treated, and I could point to a number of other little moments that I feel quite ambivalent about, or I feel are quite good, but overall, the main points of these episodes lead to me just feeling kind of disappointed. Not because this is some horrible ending, in fact, it's okay, it's pretty good, but because the potential of it is so obvious to me, and it's a shame that I feel that that was wasted. However, that doesn't change the fact that overall, this season has been highly enjoyable. Honestly, it's better than I remembered it being the first time I watched it. There were quite a few episodes I really loved, such as Jet, The Storm, and The Blue Spirit, and almost all the other episodes were at least enjoyable and at best really good. Sure, its episodic nature may not have always been to my taste, but it still provides an ample amount of exploration of its characters, their relationships, the world they inhabit, and the themes of the story, before moving into some more complex plots. Whether or not this could have been handled differently is up for debate, but I feel that Avatar does a good job of introducing us to its characters, of getting us to care about them and understanding the basics about them, before diving into some more exciting stuff, before using that knowledge we now have to create a story that's even more powerful. With that, it's time to finally get to Season 2 of Avatar. Thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate all the support I've gotten on this series and on just all the videos I'm doing in general lately. Even though I don't have as much time as I used to reply to comments, I still read the majority of them, and overall they inspire me to do better and to make better videos. Now I want to apologize for how long it took me to get this out. There are a few reasons why it's taking longer, but the main one just comes down to me and how I've been doing things, which has been really stupid, I think. Because right now I have 3 series going on at the same time. There's a Full Metal Alchemist one, there's this one, and there's the Young Justice one. Some people had the concern, especially when I started the Young Justice one, that I would not be able to keep up the pace. I thought for some reason that I would be able to. And maybe I would if I wasn't in school too. I don't know why I didn't expect it to be busy, because I should have. It was dumb of me. So yeah, I'm sorry that these are taking long. That is only on me for choosing to do things this way. I know a lot of you really enjoy these. I know you don't want to be waiting for these so long. And I feel kind of crappy that the way I've chosen to do things has resulted in what I imagine is a more negative viewing experience. But there is another problem with how I've been doing this that's been resulting in this taking longer. I'm just not happy with the videos. I'll have the script done, I'll keep going through it, I'll keep rewriting sections, and I just am not happy with how it's turning out. I genuinely don't think that's me being too hard on myself. If anything, I still don't think these videos are quite good enough. I don't think they're quite where they should be. I still have these little mistakes where I say things incorrectly, or the script's just too sloppy, or things are too long-winded in my mind. There's all these issues I have with it. But I think one of the biggest ones is the format. For something like Teen Titans, going episode by episode worked super well, because that show is so thematically focused in its individual episodes. But I took the wrong thing away from that series, which was that format would just work, that I could apply that to different shows and it would be fine, which now in retrospect, I don't think is quite the case. I honestly think that especially going forward, an episode by episode format is by far not the best way to cover this stuff. So I'm going to be changing how I'm covering it. I'm still going to talk more about Avatar, but it's not going to be, episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, episode 4, just going episode by episode. I'm going to change how I'm doing it. The titles of the videos might be a bit different. The third thing I have that I've realized from all this is that it's silly of me to start these series without having them done. I didn't have all the scripts done for the Teen Titans series when I started it. Not even close. But that worked because it was summer. I had a ton of free time. I wasn't working that month. I had taken some time off work and I wasn't in school. So I just spent all day making the videos, getting them done really quick. That's how I was able to do that so fast. Also that I had an editor, a fantastic editor. He's been editing these Avatar ones and I'm really happy with how he's been doing that. Anyway, what I'm getting at with this point is that from now on, after these 3 series, I'm not going to start another series until I have the script done, until I have everything I want to say down, and until it is organized in a way that I'm happy with. Because then I'll be able to put these videos out at a reasonable pace without constantly second guessing. And then I can confidently say to you guys, like, okay, 1 per week. I have the scripts done. I have the audio recorded. Just need to do a little bit of editing. That's reasonable, right? What I've been doing right now is not reasonable at all. It is unreasonable of me to expect people to still be interested if it takes me about a month to get an episode of a series on Avatar: The Last Airbender out. That's ridiculous. I wouldn't be interested. I would lose interest. I'd be frustrated. So all of this is to say, I am taking a break from this series, not to completely stop working on it, but to get it all organized and to make the videos what I want them to be. And when I come back to it, I will be able to say I have the whole thing done. I will have these week by week. Like, I'm genuinely really sorry. I hate disappointing people, especially all of you who take time out of your days to watch that. I don't take that lightly. I don't take the idea that people spend their time on these lightly. Anyway, that's all for now. Thank you for listening to this. Bye bye.